Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. We want to thank our newest Patreons and our growing Patreon family.
Yes, thank you so much to Annette, Cynthia, and Alexandra. You guys are helping us do this awakening, and we really, really appreciate everybody's help because we are all involved in this, and this helps support us, support you, and all the way around. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. And again, exclusives going up on Patreon multiple times each week. Come and join the family, as always. And also, Heart's Home. Now, Heart's Home I view as the how-to hands-on channel when it comes to spirituality and Bronze Age abilities. We all have different abilities that we may not even be aware of as things, that you might think of as paranormal, psychic gifts. We all can do things that will surprise you if you detox, clear yourself of lower frequencies. Sky's the limit, guys. We are shifting out of a Kali Yuga.
Yes, we teach you how to tap in.
Absolutely. So please do come and subscribe over at Heart's Home too as well. So here we go. Sorry about that egg story there. Sometimes I think part of the disclosure process is slowing down the disclosure process or creating more doubts. Now, this is, as you see, first crystal clear footage reveals egg-shaped UAP, watershed moment in disclosure. Distinct geometry matches historical records and represents unprecedented video evidence. You are watching history here. And here you go. This is somebody else. Additional footage of UAP egg filmed in my kid's playroom. Or, how about this one? It's Mork. You remember Mork from Mork? He came in an egg. We had disclosure all the way back then.
Oh, it's brutal, you guys. It is brutal.
Yeah, not impressive. It was not impressive, except for the fact is, ultimately, there's a lot out there. It's overwhelming. So, we do know that there are extraterrestrials, there are interdimensionals, there's beings that live inside the earth, there's beings that live under the sea, and I'm not talking about SpongeBob.
No, and I guess, because Mike and I have seen some pretty crazy things, I think anybody and everybody should always take a look at something. If you're curious and you're a searcher and you're searching and you want to know, by all means, take a look at it. But it didn't really do much for us to see this. I guess maybe because we've seen real stuff, maybe that's it.
Yeah, and we've actually communicated to them. So, when you see that, it's going to be disappointing for a lot of people. Other people will be overwhelmed and amazed at it. Yet, you have so much that's come out. This was one that was released by Dr. Stephen Greer. A photo. There's a gun. Looks kind of like a dead gray. This is a gray alien shot and killed at U.S. Air Force Base. Witnesses in a strange and unexplained UFO case claim an alien was shot dead at a U.S. air base in New Jersey. And this is a person that was a major in the service that gives his story. Again, there's so many of these incidences that it's almost impossible to keep up with them all. And then when you start going into the myths, the legends, and the first-hand experiences from people all over the world, oh yeah, there's something very, very much going on. Sometimes, though, I do think that when they officially give you a disclosure, the real intent is to maybe slow down the process with something that looks well, not phenomenal by any means. And in fact, that was not an awesome case. But then there's a lot of photos out there that do feel fairly legitimate. But, again, could be a scene from a movie. This is where we're at. You could be AI. I mean, AI can look amazing now. Just mind-blowing in reality. But they are there. Again, we and probably, I would venture to say, big portion of people out there have had some sort of direct experience. as I've shared with you guys, my dad went through 12 years of Catholic school. He went through Catholic school, and he would say the nuns would whack him on the head with a ruler or on the knuckles. And yet, even brought up Catholic, he said, aliens are out there. I know. I've seen them. And this type of thing does stay in the family. They do track certain individuals, families, and bloodlines. And, this right here feels very, very reptilian. So again, develop your abilities to feel into it. And this is, again, why Patreon and Heart's Home, they're going to be more of the how-to. We're going to do a lot more with how to develop your psychic gifts, your paranormal abilities, which, again, it's not really paranormal. The only thing that's been going on is in a dark age, the power structure has made people think that looking at things like tarot cards is evil. That's because they want you deaf, dumb, and ignorant. And that's just the truth. That's just the blunt truth.
Well, they don't want you to have the ability to look outside of this 3D dimensional matrix that we have made up. And, we teach you over on Heart's Home, how do you do the cleansings? How do you tap in? How do you get quiet? How do you develop discernment? We talk about all of these things, and we're going to get into it further too, like instructional videos. I mean, really, really hands-on videos to help people figure things out and build their own spiritual makeup.
And also, you can always, basically make an appointment with us, and we could go over anything with whatever you want to cover. Again, we do sessions. This is what we do all the time when we're not making videos, is actual helping people energetically, spiritually. Also, with recommendations as far as pulling from our, knowledge of health, nutrition, wellness. Again, we are not doctors, and at the same time, I don't feel that's a bad thing, because at the root of doctor is indoctrinate. Indoctrinate doctor. Yeah, we're learning this again. The system has basically controlled the narrative in more ways than one, including buying out complete schools. If you look into it with the Rockefeller medical system, it started with basically pursuing all sorts of alternative schools and buying them up and switching them over to allopathic medicine. So when you look to something like this, this is a very, very odd object for sure. There's a lot of weird ones out there that don't, really fit into the category as flying saucers. This does look, if it is legitimate, it feels obviously that would be mechanical, but again, it could be something that's very, very small and blown up, and it's another possibility for a psyop.
It is. So that's why we have to really pay attention to what we're looking at.
And this is why we again stress building your discernment. You can make contact with UFOs mentally. And this is Jay Anderson, co-founder and host of Project Unity. And so, this is something that we all can do. It does work. We've been out there in the desert, and we've had more interactions on an average night of the week than not. We would see stuff all the time. Granted, we were kind of across from Area 51 and Nellis Air Force Base. And if you do end up listening to that egg capture video and, the interview that goes along with it, again, when you're out in these areas where you're way away from cities and stuff, there's no light pollution. It's mind-blowing. There's only so many things that you can blame on Starlink. We've seen portals opening and ships coming out and then ships going into other portals. It's just wild out there. And yet so many other people have had this experience too. If you put out the intent that you want to communicate with an extraterrestrial, somebody will probably hear you. That's the bottom line. Now, if the extraterrestrials look at you and your energy field is such that It's laden with the toxic residues of all sorts of pharmaceuticals and alcohol and other things that are very, very low frequency. They might not pay attention to you. Or they might use you if they are a dark entity, because, again, we've had people that say, well, I don't know if I want my chakras open. Well, if they're closed, you can be possessed. It's closed chakras that are the problems, because, those are going to either cut you off from the nourishing and grounding energy of Mother Earth, or they're going to cut you off from your own higher self, if we're talking more like the crown or the third eye, or your intuition. So, again, the system has made people paranoid and terrified of these things that we might call paranormal, but these are all normal, natural human abilities. We've been sold a bill of goods in which we're told that we're not this, we're not that. And the reality is we can do so much more than what they've ever let on.
Well, they like for us to think of ourselves as very mechanical, I think.
Yeah, and that's that mechanical model of the universe again. Most beings out there communicate telepathically. So if you are thinking a thought and putting it out into the universe, there's somebody that can hear you.
Indeed.
And that's just the reality. And so, would you give a little bit more on that?
Well, I don't know. This is evolutionary. It's going on evolutionary. Yeah, I mean, for those who I like to be able to have more of an intimate type of platform to talk to people about this, but I can tell you that once you are open to the energies and you are working on it and you are sincere and you are going through a healing process, and if you wish to, you can do things like working on a Kundalini awakening, which I don't recommend very easily. In fact, it's very, very, to me, it's a very touchy topic because I've seen things go wrong, and in my own life it went wrong. But for me, it was a very rocky, rough start, but it still happened, and the Kundalini made its way, but not without consequence. So that's why I worry about, people wanting to do these things without much forethought, or even using certain medicines can get you there too. But if you're really not ready and you're jumping the line and you're doing things that you're not quite ready for, that can kind of send them spinning. So there's definitely, there has to be some energy of taking responsibility for what you're doing. So I always recommend starting to heal your traumas, start to clear out your body, so that when you are getting information, it is from a higher realm. Because the problem is these little creatures, they are opportunists, and if they see someone with a torn energy field, they really have no qualms. If they need food, they'll just step right in.
And these are the beings that are working with the power structure.
Right. These are the beings that work with the power structure, and it's just what they do. They're opportunists. They take advantage. They're like parasites. So, I mean, there is anybody can do it, but I always say, if you're somebody who's been through a lot of trauma, or, if there's a lot of things going on in your life, that's so important to work on balancing yourself, balancing all of your chakras, balancing your energy, coming to terms with your traumas, so that when this stuff does come, you don't find yourself in trouble. So I hope, did I expand the right way?
I'm sure it's going to reach, whoever it is that needs to reach it. Because, this is a time of awakenings. And there's a lot of things that haven't made sense to most people, at least to many people, because they didn't really make sense when you're looking through it through the lens, when you're looking at it from the lens that the system has given us, because it's a distorted lens, and it is a lens that's trying to paint a picture of a reality that just is not the reality. It's not, and yet still people will recognize again, well, okay, can't trust CNN, can't trust MSNBC, can't trust Fox, can't trust, this and that, but then you still end up trusting some mainstream cornerstones, not realizing that too is obviously a distortion. It's all a distortion, just like our past. We were way more advanced in the past than we currently are, as far as the general society.
Right. I mean, there's a really big conundrum that we have here, because you can work on that Kundalini and then get yourself to the point where you're able to see the pineal gland is awakened and you're able to see the light in the different dimensions. However, if you're not prepared for it, it could send you into a depression. It could send you into a spiral, but there is benefit to being able to see beyond the mainstream media. I mean, that in that sense, I want everybody to wake up. But on the flip side, it has to be careful, because so many people can find themselves in trouble if they go about it the wrong way.
Absolutely. Please do send out positive energies towards everybody that's going to be in the grips of a very, very serious and dangerous cold wave that's coming in. 10 below freezing in the Asheville area, and there's people living in tents. Meanwhile, again, the system is sending billions of dollars for death and destruction in Ukraine and the Middle East. I do think that we are going to see an expansion, unfortunately, in the war, especially in the Middle Eastern area. Unfortunately, I think, again, it's all about the awakening. And as soon as we get a certain critical mass, we can really shift the paradigm. This is part of what we need to realize. But many people are reaching out and helping people, because that's what it's going to take, because we obviously know we're not going to really be taken care of by the system. The system, that's not its priority. Its priority is, again, feeding itself. The human eye can only see between 430 and 770 THZ. Our ears can only detect sound between 20 hertz and 20 kHz. These ranges make up just a fraction of the total sound and light frequency range. That means there's a lot more going on around us that we cannot see or hear than what we can see and hear. This is just part of the natural matrix. There's layers upon layers upon layers. So when you look at our world, and if there really is 8 billion humans on the world, there might be 1 billion times that other beings on this world, per se, in dimensions that are just a little bit away from ours. Think about that. Think about how the technology, the insight, and the understanding that goes into making a universe like this, because somebody made this universe. This is not a random creation. The thought that this is a random, just something that popped up out of a series of coincidences is insanity. No, consciousness creates worlds for consciousness to explore. And your consciousness, as long as you're not, some sort of synthetic AI, is eternal.
That's right. Our senses that we have now, they are gifts. They are gifts from source, and they're very wonderful, and they allow us to feel and sense and taste and smell, and all of those things are wonderful while you're in the body. So we should always look at those with a great deal of gratitude. But, there's so much more. There's so much more out there.
Oh, absolutely. There's much more out there than we've even touched on. Remember when skies used to look like this? They can and they will again. The system is falling apart even as we speak. It still may take another 10 to 15 years to totally change the paradigm on the planet. Yet it's coming. And then Mother Earth will wash away all the dirty, dark residue of this system. This dog is a smarty. He's moving the security camera so he could go eat in peace and not be watched. Yeah, and the cat's going to go join him.
Indeed, smart kitty.
As always, guys, much love. Thanks for your support over on Patreon. Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.